You ever have one of those days?
One of what days?
Those days where you can't seem to get it together.
No, not really. I power through every day like a boss.
When the smallest task hits you like a 400-pound charging defensive lineman?
Yeah, no, I eat days like that for breakfast, but I also eat almonds.
Almonds?
Yeah, tiny little football-shaped power nuts with 6 grams of energy-giving protein.
Can I have a handful?
Fine. California almonds. Own your everyday, every day.
Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on your short list of qualified candidates using an online dashboard. Get started today at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast.
Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Adam Duritz, lead singer of the Counting Crows, friend of the show. Had him on. Glad you're with us. I love the Counting Crows, man. I have a great Counting Crows story from here.
Oh, you do?
Back in the day. Was doing the 1 a.m. Sports Center,
right? Which
is now done out in Los Angeles, so it's not 1 a.m., so it's a much more reasonable lifestyle. Good for Stan and Neil.
Oh,
great
absolutely.
Stuff. We used to do it here, and you used to have to wait till all the games were over, and you have to fix it, blah, blah. So you're here very late at night. So this was in the infancy of when you could start learning to play music on your computer. And Bill Pito and I were doing the late 1 a.m. Sports Center. It's about 12:15. We're getting ready. We're a little tired, so I decided to find the thing on the computer and play the song "Hanging Around," and we're cranking it. Okay, at like 12:15.
Oh yeah, you got to get going a little bit, right?
Unbeknownst to us, an ESPN executive who was no longer an ESPN executive is still in his office and came out in the old newsroom. By the way, the old newsroom is where we are in these studios right now. Started screaming at us, "Quit playing that blickety blank music! Act like a professional!" And I'm like, it's midnight. What do you expect
act like
us
a professional
to do? So, yeah.
Try to get jacked up, man.
We were trying to get fired up for the show. But
Before you do the Sports Center, and then have to do all the fixes.
And all the fixes that went on forever. So, Cliff, thank you for playing Counting Crows. Love that. Love that. Lots to get to. Golic and Wingo here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We got a lot more guests coming up. We got Kirk Herbstreit in a few minutes. Anthony Munoz, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Want to get his take on what Eric Dickerson is trying to do and who he's doing it for.
And with Anthony Munoz, everybody has to understand he's one of the most respected people to ever play this game. I don't just mean from a great perspective on the field, but how well he's respected off the field by former player, by his peers. One of the most, if not the most respected out there. So I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Tom Waddle will join us, as will Eric Dickerson himself. So we're very happy to have Eric on so we can make sure the message that he's trying to get out is correct. Because there seemed to be a little confusion.
And we all want this. As former players, you would love, again, I'm pushing past the salary thing, more health insurance and better health insurance for former players, but it's got to be a unified message or it's going to get lost.
Exactly, and it's got to be for everyone.
Yep.
That's the way, that's our takeaway, and hopefully Eric will clarify that position when he joins us a little later. Let's start with what's trending this hour, and the Yankees got Aaron Judge back, and even though he went 0 for 4 with one of the greatest outs in the history of baseball, apparently, all you needed is Aaron Judge in the lineup because Neil Walker with Aaron Judge in the lineup did this.
That one's drilled deep to right. There it goes. See ya. A 3-run home run for Walker, and the Yankees take the lead.
The call from Michael Kay on the Yes Network as the Yankees beat the Red Sox, thus staving off elimination in the AL East. There's still no, there's not. No, but they won the game, and that's the most important thing. And it is amazing, Mike, with Judge in the lineup, the difference is remarkable. 32 games over 500 when he plays, just 2 games over 500 when he doesn't.
And this is, while it took longer than expected once we heard the diagnosis from the chip bone in his wrist, him being back and getting the swing and us talking about exit velocity, his first at-bat, it was 112 miles off the bat. Normally we play our fun, sound drop for that.
Second Spectrum?
That's what we do. But in this case, I understand it, with the power and the swing and the wrist and the healing of the wrist, because we heard through this process he was taking batting practice and there was still some pain in the wrist that he was able to hit the ball that hard off the bat. He did go 0-4, but they have 12 more regular season games before they play that one game against Oakland to move on in the postseason. So getting him as many at-bats as they can and getting him back in the groove, I think, is obviously very, very important for him.
Absolutely. And look, we do have our fun with some of these stats, but Aaron Boone, after the game, he alluded to what that long fly out to right and how, I don't know if it was long, but it was a fast fly out to right, for lack of a better term, what that meant to Aaron coming back from that broken wrist.
Yeah, really good. Obviously, smokes that ball his first time up to right. We looked up 112 the other way. That's pretty good. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat.
And so then the exit velocity he's talking about was 112 miles an hour. Again, we know it's just an out, and we like to make fun sometimes of some of these stats, but in this case, it is relevant that you saw the spring still off his bat. And again, the Yankees win when Aaron Judge is in the lineup. It's just that simple. Well, this is going to be interesting. There's a new book coming out September 25th from our own Ian O'Connor, basically titled Belichick, a new book on the life of Bill Belichick. And in it, Ian chronicles that Patriots quarterback Tom Brady felt trapped this past offseason and wasn't sure he wanted to play anymore for the only NFL coach he's ever had. Basically saying if you're married to 18 years to a grouchy person who gets under your skin and never compliments you, after a while you want to get a divorce from him, a source told O'Connor of the relationship.
I mean, this, again, goes to show, I've said this for years, not everything is always hunky-dory in a locker room. And forgetting even Tom and Bill, I mean, just a locker room in general. And you remember Lane Johnson last year said, I'd rather have one Super Bowl and have fun than 5 and not, and I don't buy that.
Not for a second.
Because, you go through those things, but then you have the common goal. So I don't know how much I really believe Tom Brady was looking to divorce from Bill Belichick.
Right.
There weren't a lot of choices out there for him to do.
Correct.
Unless you just didn't want to play anymore, or you're trying to force or whatever. So I don't know how much I buy that, and it certainly seemed to escalate with this guy Alex Guerrero and how all that situation went. But as I said in the offseason, once you get to the season, the common goal takes over for all. Bill, Tom, and the professionalism of that program says this is what we're shooting for. You can read everybody's book years down the road about how much fun they actually had, but we'll also, along with that fun, you'll see pictures of them holding up a trophy and wearing an awful lot of rings.
Yeah, listen. The off season, you think about this stuff, but once you commit, you're in it for the long haul here. And I'm really curious. I think it's today that Tom Brady speaks, or is it? I'm not sure if it's
I'm not sure what day it is.
I'm curious to see how quickly they'll not talk about this, because they're going to be asked.
Yeah,
and again, the book comes out on September 25th, and we'll have Ian O'Connor on with us tomorrow morning at 7:30 to detail more about what's going on in the book. So there was angst last year and this offseason for the New England Patriots. There appears to be a lot of angst already, and we're not even 3 weeks into the season in Western Pennsylvania with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Antonio Brown got into a scuffle with his offensive coordinator on the sidelines. Don't care about that at all. That's what winners do. They want to get the ball. I understand that. But you compile that with him not showing up to the facility on Monday, and then that tweet back at someone who used to work in the PR office for the Steelers that said, Big Ben made AB, and AB's response was trade me and let's find out. One of those things doesn't mean a lot. All three of them together, you're like, what's going on here?
The only thing I'll say, and a couple of things. Antonio Brown, he's 30 years old. I mean, to sit there, and I know Mike Tomlin said we'll have a talk about social media. He's 30 years old. He's already this second time in 2 weeks. Twitter has kind of put the attention on him when he tweeted about one of our .com writers who wrote an article about him on Instagram. He threatened him and then apologized. We know what he did with Facebook Live after a game. It's not going to change. He's 30. This is what he is, but he's also the best player in your team.
Yep.
From all signs, it doesn't sound like he's all that well loved in that locker room as well. I don't know. I'm not in there, but you just kind of pick things up. But he's the best player on that team. And we're doing all this talk, Trey. You know where you may want to focus a little more in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
On your defense.
Yeah.
Your defense is bad right now. Your defense is giving up 388 yards a game and 31.5 points a game. Your opponent's quarterback rating is over 100 against you.
Yeah.
On offense, you're averaging almost 30 points a game. That should be enough for you to have a better record than 0-1-1. So I get all the, back and forth, and is he going to retire, and AB on it. Let's look at the defense. Let's look at on the field and some of the issues that team has had, and forget about this ancillary stuff, which, oh, by the way, with Antonio Brown has been going on for a while, yet he still finds the ability somehow to some way to catch 100 balls for 1,200 or 1,300 yards and a lot of touchdowns.
Look, 2 years ago in the postseason, he was Facebooking live Mike Tomlin's postgame press conference.
Yeah, I'm not saying
this isn't changing.
I'm not saying I agree with a lot of stuff he does, but, we're talking about football team and wins and losses and where the focus might need to be.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell, you saw him on the jet ski in Miami and throwing his own party for his album, which I don't think is getting great reviews. He ain't coming back anytime soon. You know, and the offense is still averaging almost 30 points a game. Let's start to focus on the other side of that ball and what they need to clean up over there, which I thought was going to be, and it still is, only 2 games in, a better part of their team, the defensive side.
Well, listen, all that's true, but at the end of the day, if they don't win on Monday night, it's only going to get worse. And by the way, they got a very tough opponent. Let's not kid ourselves right now. Everyone is shredding that defense, and now they go play the second hottest quarterback in all of football in Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you know that stadium, Raymond James, is going to be rocking.
And they are number 4 on your power ranking.
That's the least important thing of anything about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they are playing very well. Okay, so that's a lot to get to in the NFL. We'll have more on that on the Hall of Fame situation coming up in just a bit. But let us make that hard right turn to college football because Herbie is here. Kirk Herbstreit. Herbstreit and Fitzsimmons joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. All right, let's talk about what to expect, Kirk, with your old alma mater. They get Urban Meyer back. The 3-game suspension is behind them. Clearly it didn't hurt them too much as they put together 3 pretty impressive games, including a really good win against a very tough TCU team. So what do you expect it to be like now that Urban is going to be back on the sidelines?
Well, I called the Ohio State TCU game last week, and part of the prep I went up to Ohio State on Wednesday. And the last 2 games, Urban Meyer has been allowed to be with the team except for the game. And so if you wouldn't have told me what was going on, I would have thought this is just a normal Wednesday practice with Ohio State. I mean, Urban Meyer was as involved as he's ever been coaching the team and then addressing the team post-game or post-practice. The only thing the last couple of weeks, obviously, he wasn't able to board the plane and communicate and be a part of that. So I don't necessarily think for the players it's going to be a drastic change. And let's give Ryan Day and Greg Schiano and that entire staff a lot of credit for what they were able to do and kind of uncharted waters for those 3 weeks. They're very organized, not just winning, but there weren't a lot of mental mistakes, weren't a lot of, play clock's running down, timeout. It looked very buttoned up. So, they have Tulane this week. I think they're about a 35-point favorite. You're really not going to know much about how much it's changed this week. Now, keep in mind, next week, they go to State College, the whiteout, hostile environment. That's when you really find out, where this team is with Urban Meyer and whether or not they're a legitimate threat to win the Big Ten and to potentially end up making a playoff.
And part of that is going to be, again, less concern about the opponent this week than Nick Bosa to be healthy for that game next week against Penn State. Nick won't be playing in this game against Tulane. Herbie, the team and what a game it was. LSU at Auburn. For LSU to jump out to that lead, we had Ed Orgeron on yesterday talking about this, jump out to that lead and then be down 21-10 in the third quarter and come back on the road the way they did. And we talked about their next 3 games, Louisiana Tech, Ole Miss, at Florida. Then they go Georgia, Mississippi State, and Alabama. So we're going to find out on the field. But how legitimate do you think this team is right now? Because I still think there's a question mark at quarterback.
Yeah, well, I don't know at quarterback. I just think because their passing game hasn't helped out a lot. I mean, they've had some key moments, but overall, they're I think 106th in the nation in passing offense, and Joe Burrow's only completing, I think it's 47% of his passes. So it's natural to be concerned or wonder, but Dave Aranda's defense right now, I mean, they're playing. You know what it's like, guys, when you see a team questioned, how that can collectively bring you together and you collectively play with a chip on your shoulder with basically we'll show them kind of attitude. Well, that's what we've seen from LSU the first 2 weeks as a team, and especially most notably on defense. With the way they're playing offense, is it going to eventually catch up to them with their schedule? You would say conventional wisdom would say yes. It's a young offense. I talked to Joe just yesterday, and he said, we're still trying to kind of find our identity. We're still learning how to play it. There are a lot of new faces. So they're only going to get better on that side of the ball, but the schedule is going to just continue to get more and more challenging in that SEC West. The SEC West is clearly the deepest division. We thought going into the season it was the Big Ten East, and after 3 weeks of football, it appears to be with the emergence of LSU and Texas A&M, and we know about Mississippi State and Auburn and Alabama. It's got to be the SEC West. So it'll be a grind for them, but it's been a lot of fun to watch these guys play these first 3 weeks with 2 top 10 wins when not a whole lot of people thought they could do that. So they deserve a ton of credit, especially doing it away from Death Valley for both of those wins. So, man, the more we question them and doubt them, the better they play. So we'll see.
No question. Again, those first 2 wins, as you said, against top 10 teams, that hadn't happened 2 times in the first 3 weeks of the season in 37 years. So Ed Orgeron and LSU really, really getting stuff done. By the way, Kirk is brought to us by Allstate. Allstate knows that football season is mayhem. That's why they're reminding fans that if mayhem can show up on game day, imagine what can happen the rest of the week. So get better protected with Allstate. Kirk, we'd love to say there's a lot of mayhem in college football, but it certainly seems like there's a certainty headed our way that it's Alabama's world and the rest of us are just living in it. This is the first time you can say that Alabama has had all the parts and a quarterback. I mean, it's 51 to 14, 62 to 7, 50 something to whatever. I mean, it just seems like they're playing with a stacked deck and the rest of us are saying, okay, who's getting the silver medal here?
Yeah, and honestly, if you watched their championship game last year and the way the second half unfolded with what Tua did, and for me, I have the benefit of going to a lot of their practices. They're closed, and seeing guys like Tua operate against the best defense in the country, and seeing the ball never touch the ground, and seeing the things that he did in like 2-minute drills, and it just made me walk away before the Georgia game thinking, wow, that kid is incredibly accurate, and he makes quick decisions. And they've got a great group of wide receivers. So before the season even started, I had made a comment that if Tua walks out to play, and there was a controversy still at that time, who's going to be the guy. And I said, if Tua plays, it's over. They're going to score 45 or 50 a game to go along, as you said, with the traditional defense, special teams, field position, all the stuff that they always are good at. And they usually run the ball. They're going to still do all that. And, oh, by the way, it's the best they've been around the quarterback position because of the way they've recruited since Nick's been there. And so good luck. Are you going to load up to stop the powerful running game of Damian Harris and company? Or are you going to worry about Tua in the passing game? Wherever you go, they're going to make a call at the line of scrimmage and go the other way. So it's a little bit of pick your poison. And they've only had their foot on the accelerator for a half in most of these games that they played. I can't even imagine what they would do if they did it for 4 quarters. With that being said, I did A&M and Clemson 2 weeks ago. Jimbo Fisher has changed that culture with all these new head coaches in college football more drastically than anybody in the country that has a new job in a positive direction. They don't have the depth, but they're starting 11 on defense and they're starting 11 on offense. And with the way Kellen Mond's playing at quarterback, this will be Alabama's biggest test that they've had up to this point. I don't know if A&M is going to be able to be in the game in the second half. I think Bama will eventually pull away. But I don't think A&M physically walks into this game in awe of Alabama. They're physical at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, veteran SEC linebackers, athletic in the secondary. And like I said, Kellen Mond has the ingredients that gives Alabama's defenses a lot of trouble. He can throw it from a traditional style offense, but on 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 8, he can pull it down. He can take off. He can run some zone read and use his feet. So don't be surprised that as much as we're patting Alabama on the back, congratulations, national championship, great job, don't be surprised if A&M competes with them this week. I think Texas A&M is a much better team than maybe people nationally realize at this point.
All right, Herb, let's run out to the West Coast, the Pac-12 that usually feels they're left out of all the conversations. You guys are in Oregon, taking on Stanford and Oregon. And you look Stanford, Oregon, Washington, maybe those 3 teams if you think someone else might be in it.
Arizona State!
For the Pac-12. Arizona State taking on Washington.
Arizona State!
Arizona State taking on Washington this week. Oregon takes on Washington in a couple of weeks, and then Stanford and Washington in November at some point. How do you see this game, and where are these 2 teams as far as the Pac-12 is concerned?
Well, it's great. I'm glad you asked about the Pac-12 because you're right. Most people east of the Rockies don't really recognize the Pac-12, and especially when the big face of the conference, USC, is struggling the way they are to start the season off. I hear you yelling. Arizona State, they were kind of the flavor of the week after their big win against Michigan State, and they turned around and lost to San Diego State. So they've kind of right now are in come down a gear or two. The Pac-12 is down as far as the South is concerned. The Pac-12 North, we'll find out this weekend. Washington, was the team to beat when the season started. They had a really good start against Auburn. They don't quite look themselves offensively. I don't know what's going on. I know they're not as good at the line of scrimmage right now and being able to run the ball. So the winner of this game between Stanford and Oregon and Eugene gives both these teams a chance to kind of get back to showing the nation that they deserve to be up in the top 10 of the country. Stanford is a physical team. Bryce Love expected back. He missed last week. They've got a very balanced attack. And then Oregon, last time we really got into Oregon, Marcus Mariota was on the team. 2014, they went all the way to the national title. They've been a little bit forgotten over the last 3 years. So it's at home, at Autzen, incredible fan base. So the stage is theirs, and we'll see if Oregon has what it takes to be able to hang with a team like Stanford.
Again, that'll be part of college football this weekend. We're looking forward to it. Kirk, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Herbie.
All right, guys. Take care. Talk to you soon.
You got it.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about 1/3 of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Anthony, thanks for being with us this morning. Obviously, that letter from Eric Dickerson has stirred up a lot of interest and a lot of questions about what's going forward. For those that may not be aware, Eric Dickerson sent this letter to Roger Goodell, the NFLPA, and also the Hall of Fame, saying, look, we're going to stop showing up to the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony unless the Hall of Famers, now the letter specifically said Hall of Famers, right, are given health insurance and revenue. I want to get your take on first the idea, Anthony, of boycotting the Hall of Fame to get something for the players. And we'll get into specifically what he means about that later. But what do you think of this idea of boycotting to get something?
Well, first of all, guys, it's always a pleasure being with you guys, and big fan. And it has been a few years since we worked together, but, it's usually an annual event when I look forward to being with you guys. But, this is first question you asked about the boycott. And, I just have to say right from the get-go, in my humble opinion, and I read the letter yesterday for the first time as I read it and went through it and processed it and thought about the demands and what's going on here. And as I read it, to me, it's about the NFL, not the Hall of Fame. In my humble opinion, I think what the demands are, health insurance, and then the salary, and I think it's about the NFL. And Mike, I was listening to you, earlier, and you talked about, the strike in '87. I went through two in I believe it was '82 and '87. And for me, that was for all the players. And I think, in my humble opinion, this should be about all the players, all the former players, because I see Hall of Famers, I see former players, and a lot of us are struggling. I mean, and I'm sure you see a lot of guys are struggling. So health insurance, health benefits is something that is much needed. So I think it should be all inclusive with all the players that have played this game, that built this game. And don't get me wrong, I truly believe that as a Hall of Famer, Hall of Famers have a loud voice. I think if the Hall of Famers start beating the drum first, there's going to be, the attention's going to be there. But I believe that the Hall of Famers will be affected by this if it's just exclusively about the Hall of Fame. For me, I've been in 20 years, been fortunate enough to be a Hall of Famer 20 years. And I have to say the last 4 or 5 years, the programs and the benefits to players as the village is being constructed. I mean, it's so much more. I've done so much more with guys in the last 3 or 4 years outside of Canton with the programs, the youth programs, the corporate programs, and the financial. That people have to understand that the Hall of Fame is not the NFL. The Hall of Fame is a separate entity. It's a non-for-profit entity. And then you have the NFL. They're separate. So to go after the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, it has to be the NFL. And I think that's where, I will, my second year actually, because we're not allowed to speak at a luncheon our first year when we're enshrined, but the second year at the Nitsky luncheon as we gather with all Hall of Famers, to the man, it's about let's come back every year. This is our home. Let's come back every year. And that's what I plan on doing. So I don't know if that I'm not sure if boycotting the Hall of Fame induction is the right thing to do because, like I said to begin with, I think it's about all players, not just Hall of Famers, and I think everyone should be included in this.
Talking to Anthony Munoz, 11-time Pro Bowler, 9-time first-team All-Pro, one of the greatest to ever play the game and one of the most respected to ever play the game. And all I can say is I'm very happy while we're talking to you and they're showing B-roll of you. I am not on any of the highlights of me being blocked by you because God knows that happened enough in real time. So I'm very happy those were edited out. Anthony, just so we make this clear, your name was not associated with the names in this letter. Were you called or approached about being part of this letter that went out?
I wasn't called about the letter and about having my name on the letter. I was made aware of that there was conversations taking place. So I have to, admit that, yeah, I knew that there was conversations taking place. I've heard that quite a few of the names on that letter were not aware that their name was going to be on the letter. So I have been made aware of that. I don't know all the specific names, but like I said, I read the letter yesterday. I'm on Twitter. That's about all the social media I do, and I was thumbing through it as I do. We have a couple events coming up with my foundation, and I usually put those on Twitter and invite people to support what we do at the foundation. I saw that the letter had come out, was sent out, and I actually read it. So, it's again, going back to my playing days when, we went through those 2 strikes and one was a strike and I guess one was just a lockout. I don't know the official, but I know we were not there. And we were fighting for every player, for all players. And so hopefully this has ignited conversation that we can come together. And I think it's something that, the union, Goodell, I think all parties have to be involved with the group, have to sit down and be involved in this conversation. And I don't know who your previous soundbite was, but I heard that, about the union. We're retired players. And Mike, I know you mentioned it. We're not part of the union. So I think a big job is to get not only the NFL, but get the union to think about the former players with the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, that really is what has to happen with the way they divide the money, and that's what we're looking at for health care and benefits for the former players. So I think if nothing else, like a lot of things, this has sparked conversation. Hopefully it can come together in a room quickly and things can be settled quickly. If this isn't something that lingers on and affects, the former players and especially the Hall of Fame. I'd hate to see that, to see what's been going on the last 4 or 5 years up in Canton with the expansion there and not only the expansion of the facilities there in Canton, but like I mentioned, the platform, the impact that we've been able to have through the Hall of Fame, not only domestically, but now internationally. I mean, we've had a couple of trips to Israel. We've had one to the Vatican. And that happens because I truly believe because you're wearing the gold jacket. So to see the impact we're having with the Hall of Fame and with Dave Baker leading the team up there, and the phenomenal job they're doing up there and busting their rear ends to really give us a much bigger platform through what we did on the field initially. I mean, there's no question about it. the blood, sweat, and tears that we put in the number of years we played. But now we have an opportunity to use the voice to really not only help the Hall of Famers that are struggling, but the former players that need assistance.
Anthony Munoz joining us. Two of those names on the list, Jerry Rice and Kurt Warner, have said they were not part of that letter and they would not boycott at all. And we're going to talk to Eric Dickerson about the message that he's sending is kind of getting lost in the should it be just for Hall of Famers or not. I want to ask you quickly, only got about a minute left here. If you were put in front of Roger Goodell and DeMaurice Smith and able to negotiate on behalf of all players, how would you start the conversation for better health insurance?
Well, man, that's I would really have to be prepared and do some studying, which is tough for me to answer right now. But I would definitely, because I've been around a lot of guys, and I could use example after example. I'm on the assistance committee for the Hall of Fame, and we try to really search out guys that are in need. And it's tough. I mean, it's really tough to pinpoint guys and to bring guys out that are in need because, Mike, as you know, you played the game. And anybody that played football, they're proud, man. They don't want people to know they're struggling. So to be able to get in front of those guys and really, I think just being transparent and sharing my concern for former players and that we're in need and there has to be something done. If it's, I don't know if it's pension, but healthcare definitely, assistance for these guys that put their body. And we know what we're doing, right. But still, I mean, it's one of those things where I think there should be help for all the former players. The same way I feel about our military. The military vets should be first in line, man. They should not have a problem with VA. Military, and I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but the military should be the first in line to get medical assistance and medical help. They shouldn't have to go through all the red tape. And I believe nowhere am I comparing us. I just understand that to military. But I think guys that played in this league, all players deserve better health benefits, better health insurance, to really take care of them and their families as they move forward after football.
I think both of those things we absolutely agree on. Yes. The question is, how do we get there? Right. And maybe we're starting that process now. Anthony, we really appreciate your insight. Always good to hear from you, my friend.
Thanks, Moon.
Guys, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. One of the best.
Without question.
And
you're on right. And off the field.
Yes, be very glad you weren't on that.
Was not on the highlight. Thank God.
Not fun to go up against that guy. Coming up, has a former number one overall pick been Wally pipped? Do you guys even know what the phrase Wally Pip means anymore? We'll get to that. Stanzik, play the old man card for Stanzik on that tease. Oh, yeah.
It's a busy time in the NFL, especially for the fans. There's couches to fluff, bandwagon jerseys to buy, and most importantly, getting the perfect snack lineup ready. If you're going to watch football as hard as it deserves to be watched, you're going to need California almonds. With 6 grams of energy-giving protein, you'll have the stamina you need for the anxious sweats, happy jumps, and of course, the angry convulsing. Plus, they're portable, in case you need some fresh air and a screaming break. Visit almonds.com and own every day of the season with California almonds.
It's your birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to Trey. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to Wingo.
It's Golic and Wingo.
Nice thought, but just horrific singing.
Yeah, but we appreciate the effort.
Sure do. Absolutely do. Sports Center brought to you by California Almonds. If you're watching football as hard as it deserves to be watched this season, you need California Almonds. With 6 grams of energy-giving protein, you'll have the stamina for the happy jumps and the angry convulsing. Visit almonds.com and own every day of the season with California Almonds. And make sure you stay tuned for Wednesdays with Waddle. Yeah. Coming up next hour, brought to you by California Almonds.
By the way, I love almonds. I mean, I'm not just saying that because,
I do
really,
well.
They are in many ways the perfect
regular
food.
Almonds, flavored almonds,
honey
roasted,
sliced
almonds. I put in my oatmeal.
But I like with the ones that with the shell on, and you just it's a fiber.
Love it.
Tastes delicious. Yep. You never feel I shouldn't have had that many almonds. You always think I should have had more almonds. Big on the almonds.
Agreed.
Okay, so we got a bigger question now as we continue here. What's going to happen in Tampa Bay? Monday night will be the final game of the 3-game suspension for Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. So he was the number one overall pick a few years back in 2015. They have a lot invested in him. What do you do? Because Ryan Fitzpatrick has had an unbelievable start. If it weren't for that young whippersnapper Patrick Mahomes, everyone would be talking about what an amazing record-setting start that Ryan Fitzpatrick has been on. So it's the question, what's happening and what should happen? Rick Stroud, who works for the Tampa Times, thinks that, listen, no matter what Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing, you have to go back to what you invested in.
For all that Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing right now, and he's been terrific. I mean, he'd be an MVP candidate, right, after 2 weeks. But, is this really the direction you're going to go? They have so much invested in Jameis Winston in terms of a number one overall pick and almost 4 years of developing him that even with this suspension, he's got to be their future. And they've committed, almost $20 million to him, as that fifth-year option. I just think that eventually, sometime after the bye week, you're going to see Jameis Winston be the quarterback of the Bucs again.
All right, couple of things there. Yep. Number one, that was on Spain and Fitz that he joined him with. I don't think you have to go back to him right away. I just don't see that as a mandatory thing.
Well, I'll say this. He doesn't have to. When he said he's got to be a future quarterback, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have to be the future quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know the money that was invested in a number one pick, but now you're talking the next step is investing tens and tens and tens of more millions of dollars into him. So my question would be, first, I always think as a former player, and my thought is keep Fitzpatrick in there.
Yeah.
I want the hot hand. I want to win right now. But the job of management is to kind of look at now and kind of look ahead. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not going to be the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucs for the next 5 years.
No, that's not.
He's not going to be. Okay, I mean, I think we all understand that. So the one side I'll wonder about and say, playing devil's advocate, is: do you, as Tampa Bay Buccaneers brass, know enough about Jameis Winston to make a decision now to say, you know what, we may be done with him, or do you need to see more? If you say you need to see more, then I can understand that battle within kind of yourself saying, we got it going on right now. There's no way we should take Ryan Fitzpatrick off the field, but we got to know what's going on in the future. So, do they need to see more? Have they seen enough? And that, to me, is going to be the battle that management is fighting. From a player standpoint, I don't think almost to a man that they would say, take Ryan Fitzpatrick off the field. Man, we're the ones scrapping in here every week, game planning, getting ready, and he's hot right now, and we're winning, so we're not going away from that.
Right, and it's interesting, Mike, with what you're seeing from Ryan Fitzpatrick and his ability to connect with Deshaun Jackson, which Jameis never did last year, is that seeing enough based on what he's doing with that receiver as opposed to what Jameis didn't do with that receiver?
Yeah. So that, to me, is what it comes down to. What's your information you have on Jameis Winston right now?
Yeah.
If you need more, at some point they're going to have to play more because they're going to have to make an investing decision in him, whether to give him a hell of a lot more money or part ways and say, well, if Ryan Fitzpatrick is figuring out a way to get to Deshaun Jackson, whenever Ryan's done with this, could we find someone else that would be able to do that?
Correct. And listen, the money thing is not nearly as staggering as it used to be.
No,
I don't think the money is an obstacle whether or not they're going to decide to move away from Jameis or put Jameis back in the lineup. At the end of the day, it's going to be about, do they think that Jameis can eventually do what Ryan Fitzpatrick has done for 2 games? Because this will stop for Ryan at some point.
It
That's just the way it is. Yep. And that's why he's enjoying the ride so much.
He's enjoying it well.
That's what makes it great. Coming up, do the Bears have the best defense in the NFL? We'll head to the Windy City next. Stay with us.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
You ever have one of those days?
One of what days?
Those days where you can't seem to get it together.
No, not really. I power through every day like a boss.
When the smallest task hits you like a 400-pound charging defensive lineman?
Yeah, no, I eat days like that for breakfast, but I also eat almonds.
Almonds?
Yeah, tiny little football-shaped power nuts with 6 grams of energy-giving protein.
Can I have a handful?
Fine. California almonds. Own your everyday, every day.
Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on your short list of qualified candidates using an online dashboard. Get started today at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast.
You know who brings the anarchy and the chaos?
Yes, I always thought of it when you say this guy's name.
Absolutely. In the big city of Chicago, on our great station there, ESPN 1000, it's Tom Waddle of Waddle and Silvy. He joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. By the way, Waddle, I imagine things are really, really cooking right now in Chicago with what we saw once again from that defense on Monday night.
Yeah, I think guys and gals who are fans of this team are starting to reminisce about the old 85 defense. They're not there yet, but certainly the arrow is pointed in the right direction. And this front seven's already fantastic, but can you imagine when Khalil Mack actually gets his football legs underneath him? Same for Roquan Smith. And Leonard Floyd's been playing with a club on his hand. When he's able to get rid of that, I think that this is going to be an even more impressive front seven.
2 defensive touchdowns, most in the league already, 10 sacks, most in the league after the 2 games, most by a Bears team since, I believe, 1987 when they started out first 2 games with 13 sacks. So they got it going on that side of the ball.
Yep.
Tommy, on the other side of the ball, what's the major concern for you?
Well, my concern is that the young quarterback gets up to speed sooner rather than later. I think patience has been preached, and understandably so with Mitch. Yes, this is his second year, but he's in his third system since college. He had very limited experience in college, and last year in 12 starts was playing with a very simple scheme with not a lot around him. So I'm preaching patience, but there's a limit to the patience that you have to ask and request, because he was the second pick of the draft, and the timeline speeds up when they add Khalil Mack, and the defense shows that they have the potential to be a great group, and because they added some weapons in that offensive huddle through free agency in the offseason. So my concern is that the young quarterback gets up to speed. I love the coach. I think Matt Nagy will do a great job getting the most out of Mitch, and I like the pieces around him. And Mitch makes some really fascinating plays, and most of what he does well is on the move. But at some point, as you guys all know, you have to learn to play the position efficiently and effectively from the pocket, and that's where he seems to be uncomfortable right now. 2
interceptions in the last game. Should have been a third. Bad decision to throw that ball into the end zone. Can you use, I don't want to say excuse, can you use a reason as part of it, or have we lost it, that he's only had 13 starts in college football, so we still need to give him more time?
Yeah, no, I think that's valid, Mike. I really do. You look at Pat Mahomes. He played, 1 game last year? He looks like he's been in the league for 10 years, but he played significant number of snaps at the collegiate level. And look, for the NFL that doesn't have a minor league system, that's basically your minor league system for our football players. So I think it's vital to have all those reps. That's one of the reasons why during the preseason, I was an advocate of getting Mitch out there as much as they could. They decided that they would choose health over repetition and experience, which, fine, that was their decision. That tells me they have a longer-term approach. But, I think that every snap is valuable for a young, inexperienced quarterback, and I think maybe Mitch would be a little bit further along if they gave him a little bit more activity in the preseason. But, inexperience and just patience. That's what we're going to have to preach here in Chicago until it really clicks for it.
Well, the problem there is Tom Waddle is with us from Waddle and Silvy, ESPN 1000 in Chicago, a great station there, is that you have to frame it with what you've seen from the guys in his draft class. Right. Mahomes this year, and obviously even though he struggled a little bit in year 2, what Deshaun Watson was able to do. And that makes it problematic from an optics perspective, even though your point about playing time is absolutely right.
Yeah, it's something, listen, it happens with all sports and every year. When you use a high draft pick on a player, he's always going to be compared to the guys at his position that were drafted after him. And that's just the reality. I think that, again, the development of this defense and just how good they are, I think provides a little bit of cover for the young quarterback as he gets comfortable with the new system. And I think Matt's going to do a nice job bringing him along, but that's the nature of the beast. He's going to always be compared to Deshaun Watson, and he's always going to be compared to Patrick Mahomes. And right now it looks like both of those. But I think we all realize that those guys were going to be ahead of Mitchell when their NFL careers began because of the experience they had at the collegiate level. So unfortunate that external pressure exists with Mitch, and maybe it becomes internal at some point. But right now we're just dealing with a defense that can get after you and an offense that is still learning to find its way.
Absolutely true, as Tom Waddle is with us. And you mentioned that defense and how good it is. A big reason is Khalil Mack. And Tom's Salty Coach of the Week is brought to you by California Almonds. Own your every day, every day. And, Tom, this was John Gruden when asked recently after an 0-2 start where they only have one sack on the year, where he said after the Broncos loss, we need to find ways to get more pressure, which I really, he was asked about if he regrets trading away Khalil Mack.
No, it doesn't make me regret trade. We made the trade. There's got to be hindsight, 50-50, all that stuff. But we would have loved to have him here. I'm not going to keep rehashing this. I would have loved to have coached him, loved to have had him here, but he's not here. And, somebody's got to step up. We got to keep building our football team. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully we see more from P.J. Hall when he gets healthy. And hopefully we prove that in the long term we did the right thing.
Well, a couple of things. He's right. You can't worry about it because he's gone.
Right.
And someone does have to step up. But I thought hindsight's 20/20, not 50/50.
Yeah.
We're parsing with the pettiest show in America. But is he your saltiest coach of the week, Tom?
There's no doubt. You could have had him, John. You just had to pay him. You didn't trade him. There's no doubt. I think, and before one of those bites, he stared a hole through the reporter that asked him the question. I thought there was like a 5 or 6 or 7 second pause. So he collected his thoughts and gave a pretty calm answer. But I would think he's got his whole team has 2 sacks total. Khalil's got 2 on his own. I would say yes, he's our salty coach of the week for sure.
Tom, early in the season, but this is where we are. How do you at this point handicap that NFC North?
Well, I think if you're a Bears fan, you get the exact result you wanted in Green Bay this weekend. You wanted a tie. I've felt all along that the Vikings were the more complete team. I was a little bit underwhelmed by how their defense played, at least initially, against the Packers. But, then again, you're going against the best quarterback in the league right now. I think it's going to be a dogfight at the top. Detroit, I think, will find their way. I don't believe they're as bad as they've shown in the first 2 weeks. They had a chance to win the game in San Francisco. I think they'll be a little bit better. I think the Bears have narrowed the gap, though, between the teams that were above them. I would say the Bears is every bit as hopeful about their chances as the Lions, but I still think it's a 2-team race, and I would still give the Vikings a little bit of an edge over the Packers. But I think you make a great argument for it being the best division in all of football.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, especially, as you said, with that Bears defense, the only defense that scored 2 touchdowns in 2 games, one by Mack and one by Prince Amukamara on Monday night to seal that win.
Yep.
Tom Waddle of Waddle and Silvy in Chicago is with us. Tom, you played how many years in the league?
6 years.
6 years. So you're never going to be a Hall of Famer. We understand that. We're asking this in light of what Eric Dickerson is trying to do and the message he's sending. And we're going to have Eric on. We're happy to have him on coming up in a little bit. But in the letter that he sent to the Hall of Fame and to Roger Goodell and the NFLPA, it specifically said we want health insurance for the Hall of Famers as well as revenue. The revenue thing, best of luck, that's never going to happen. But he specifically said Hall of Famers. Now, he's gone on to qualify that by saying we want to do this for all players, but the letter specifically said only Hall of Famers. And I've heard from a ton of guys, like the guy sitting to my right, Mike Golic, like my friend Mark Schlereth, who played for 12 years, was a multi-Pro Bowler, and went to 3 Super Bowls and won them all, and another friend of mine, Jeff Schwartz, who played a bunch of years in the league. What about the rest of us? What did you take of what Eric said in that letter and then subsequently what he said?
Well, I thought it was offensive to anyone who has played the game, and I don't mean that to sound too dramatic, and I respect the hell out of Eric Dickerson and all the Hall of Famers and all that they've accomplished in this league. They're the very best of the best sport in the world, in my humble opinion. But bravo to Mike Golic for the initial stance that he took and the one he maintains. Look, I was contacted by a former teammate earlier this morning, and his question was, hey, how are you going to respond when you join the guys this morning? I hope you take care of all of us, or you mention all of us. And I said, of course I will. Again, I have the utmost respect for the guys who played this game at the highest level, but I've been a huge advocate all along of trying to find a way to take care of all former players. And I'm not asking for government subsidy. I'm not asking for public money. This sport generates better than $10 billion a year in revenue. You're going to tell me that the union, who should have the backs of all players, not current players, but former players, and the ownership group and the league, you can't tell me that you can't come up with a plan that would take care of the health issues of all former players. And factor this in too, guys. Mike and I and many others that played this game and loved this game and wouldn't do anything different about our experiences in the game. we're fortunate that we have found work in another venue after football. We have access to health insurance. So it's not 100% of the retired players that actually need the benefits. So I don't know what percentage it is, but I find it very hard to believe, and I'm no math genius. I do have a Boston College finance degree, but that really, I don't know what it's doing for me now. But my point is that you can't tell me that you can't find a way between the union and the ownership group and the league, find a way to take care of the health issues of all players who have ever put on that helmet and are vested, veterans. I don't understand the logic, and I don't understand the numbers that doesn't allow that to happen.
Talking to Tom Waddle, former Chicago Bears wide receiver on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And understand, this is, I'm not saying this to you, Tommy, to everybody out there, this is a battle that's been going on for decades. Players, yes. Former players. And while the union should be taking care of, I agree, to an extent, former players, everybody needs to also remember former players aren't part of the union anymore. So when
right.
Former players are trying to get together, they need to deal with the union and the league in this situation. Do you think with the, and I don't mean by boycotting the ceremonies next year for the Hall of Famers, but, and we're going to talk to Eric Dickerson about all players involved. Do you think it can finally happen after decades, that enough leverage can be put on the league and the union by Hall of Famers if, in fact, they're going to lead this thing to maybe change the tune a little bit, because it hasn't happened in decades?
Yeah, I hope so, Mike. But you're absolutely right. I don't mean to suggest that the power lies with the veteran players or the guys that have played before, because it doesn't. I remember sitting in those union meetings back in my playing days, and those in charge would come in and they would specifically focus on the message of, this is about you. The guys before you have had their opportunity. And it always kind of resonated strange with me that we're all in this fraternity, not just those of us that are currently playing, but those that played before us. My hope would be that, that some of the Hall of Famers would have a long conversation, because they are so influential, with the existing players and with the existing union, and try to find a way to make that part of the next CBA, even if the current players have to give back a little bit, and even if the ownership group and the league has to give back a little bit. I would think that this would be a cause that would be important to everybody. So my hope would be the voices of those who are most recognizable, guys like Eric and others. And I'm glad to see that there has been a revision to this effort. My hope would be that those loud, important voices would try to enact some sort of change that would benefit a large number of guys. That I know guys, Mike, you know guys, Trey, you've been around this league for decades. You know guys that could definitely use a helping hand. And I think the league's done a better job, and individual teams have done a better job reaching out to former players that do need a little bit. But I would love to see it be a cohesive, program that has the backing of all parties involved.
Yeah, look, if nothing else, the fact that we're having this conversation is healthy. And I think if nothing else on any other level, to Eric and whoever else came up with this idea, I think that's good. We just need to make sure that the message is accurate. And I think that's the biggest concern we have. And we're delighted that he's going to be joining us next to make sure we understand what he's saying and what he actually means. Tommy, always a pleasure. I love going on with you and Silvy every week in Chicago. Thanks for being with us this morning, man.
Thanks, Tom.
You got it. Happy birthday, Trey.
Thank you, buddy.
There you go.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney Wardrobe Sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store jcp.com for coupon and details.
It's a busy time in the NFL, especially for the fans. There's couches to fluff, bandwagon jerseys to buy, and most importantly, getting the perfect snack lineup ready. If you're going to watch football as hard as it deserves to be watched, you're going to need California almonds. With 6 grams of energy-giving protein, you'll have the stamina you need for the anxious sweats, happy jumps, and of course, the angry convulsing. Plus, they're portable, in case you need some fresh air and a screaming break. Visit almonds.com and own every day of the season with California almonds.
All right, glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. And there's a lot to get into with this letter that went out from Eric Dickerson and supposedly some other Hall of Famers about the idea of maybe boycotting, Mike, the future Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremonies unless players get full health care. And we want to say right off the bat, we are 100%.
This has been a decades-long fight.
Decades-long argument, and because of what this letter that was sent out, Eric has helped bring it to light. So we want to get some more context and clarity on that. And for that, we're really happy that Eric has decided to join us morning, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Eric, thanks for being with us. We just want to make sure that we're getting the right message, because in the letter that was sent out, the letter said specifically that the letter says we want insurance and revenue for Hall of Famers, not all players, just Hall of Famers. And then you later clarified, said we're doing this for all players, but we have to start somewhere. So is the stand that you want to get this health insurance for everybody or just for Hall of Famers?
You said it right. First of all, Trey, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Today's your birthday, so
Thank you,
birthday.
Eric. Thank you so much.
Yes, but let's get this right. Most definitely, we want this for all players. We started with the Hall of Famers because we thought that would be an easier push. It just started right there, and I said it to David Baker in his face when I met with him 2 weeks ago. My goal is to have health insurance and a proper pension, not this joke of a pension for players, but a proper pension for every player that's ever played in the National Football League. And it's funny, I see now that he comes back to me and said, look, I can't worry about all the other players. I just worry about the Hall of Fame. I said, I know that. I said, we're starting here, but I want this for all players. I want you to know that off the bat. And now all of a sudden he says he wants it for all players. Look, my mission is to have because we don't have a proper pension. We don't have health insurance. I think everyone thinks that all NFL players are rich guys, and we're not. They think I'm a rich. I'm not a rich guy. I bought my house 30 years ago, and thank God, luckily, I'm still able to live in it. It's not like that. I look at DeMar Smith and Roger Goodell. Look, he makes this humongous salary, and that's fine. But you know what? Take care of the players. Take care of the guys who made this game great. Do you honestly think, Mike, that me as a player, yes, I ran for 2,000 yards. I had a great NFL career. Do you think I want to leave my guys behind? No, I don't. I would never leave a player behind. I'm a player. I've always said on any show, anybody knows me knows one thing. I'm always for the player. Always 100% for the player. The big thing here is that they are trying to divide us. I don't want y'all to get away from this. On your show, please make everyone understand this. I wanted for every player a proper pension and health care for all players. I'm saying it again, proper pension and a health care for all players, not just Hall of Famers. We started there with the Hall of Fame guys because that's where we had to start. And, I think that we get off the mission because we started letting the NFL get off. They let their little beat writers, write these stories, and no one has talked to me. A lot of these guys haven't talked to me. I mean, talk to me about this. This is for all players. I want to educate the fans on it. I mean, that's my thing. Educate the fans. Let them know that this is just not for Hall of Fame guys. We want it for all players.
Eric, understood, and that's how it should be. But you have to. One thing I think that I was talking about, and I think some people are looking, players are looking for clarity, is clarity of message. And so you're saying that message now, but unfortunately, what you had was a letter saying just Hall of Famers, to which then you had Hall of Famers and guys like Kurt Warner and Jerry Rice saying, wait, we weren't part of that letter. You have other Hall of Famers saying, listen, we're not boycotting the ceremony. So in my opinion, Eric, the message is somewhat getting lost because now you have Hall of Famers kind of saying, wait, I'm not part of that. I'm not boycotting this before we even get to whether it's for all players or not. So it seems like clarity of the message isn't where it should be right now.
You know what? I'll say this much. I take full responsibility for Jerry Rice and Kurt Warner because, we had so many drafts going out. And I meant to take them off, and that was my fault. I'm not hiding behind that. I'm trying to read all the. I'm one person, and I'm me and a few other guys are trying to do this. And and I'll say that I'm sorry about that. But you saying Kurt Warner and Jerry Rice. Yeah. Jerry Rice, those two. I think when I heard David Baker said we have other guys calling in, said they're coming. Who are the other guys? Undisclosed Hall of Famers. Look, I'm not saying for sure that every guy is not going to the Hall of Fame. That's not what I'm saying. But we as a collective, I've talked about 50 to 60 guys so far. and the message is still getting to guys that said that they will not attend the Hall of Fame. Look, understand, we love the Hall of Fame. I love the National Football League. I played in the National Football League. You played in the National Football League. You know, it provided a life for me that 1% of the people in America don't have. And now, look, I'm not, and I'll say this again, I'm not a rich guy. I'm not a rich guy. But I thank God for the talent that I had, and I was able to play in the National Football League. But my thing is that, yes, all game plans aren't perfect. It's like when you have a game plan, it's not perfect. But you know what? You go with the game plan. I wanted to get this out as soon as I could because I just felt like it was time. You know, we've been sitting on this for 2 months. We've been talking about it at the Hall of Fame, me and other guys. And you see, it's a thankless job. It's like in some places, I'm getting crucified for trying to do something right. I want to help it. I never want to hurt a player. I'm not a selfish-ass guy to say, look, this is all about me. This is just all about the Hall of Famers. It's not about that. This is about every player. And I'm glad I'm on this show because, you know, one thing is I would challenge David Baker. I would challenge Roger Goodell. And also DeMaurice Smith. Don't hide behind these writers. I'll get him to debate you on this, on the health care of every player, on the health care, on the pension of every NFL player. You know, I'm not hiding behind anything. This is my mission. This is my mission for all players. And I just want to make that clear. So if it's been unclear, I hope I'm making it clear right now.
You're definitely making it clear, and that's the whole object of this, Eric, is to make it clear. And for those, because I've gotten a lot of text, and by the way, another Hall of Famer we had on this morning, Anthony Munoz, said he would not boycott the ceremonies for the Hall of Fame. So I've gotten a lot of texting and talking to a lot of players who aren't Hall of Famers, and one of the things you said that I didn't really understand, and I'm going to give you an example, and you could tell me why you say you need to start with the Hall of Famers and then everybody else. I go to my late, great teammate and one of the greatest of all time, Reggie White, and when Reggie White and some of the other greats put their name on a 1993 lawsuit for free agency, they didn't do it for, we only want free agency for Pro Bowlers. They said, we want free agency for everyone. So I don't understand, this is my big question to you, the difference of saying you need to do it for Hall of Famers first. You still have the same leverage whether you say Hall of Famers first or U.S. Hall of Famers are speaking for all retired players. I don't understand that separation in the beginning.
You know how we started that in the beginning? Because we were in Canton, Ohio, and guys that were out playing golf with me, Lawrence Taylor, Ricky Jackson, Bruce Smith, we were talking. That's how it got started. That's how it got started right there, because we were looking at guys right there at the Hall of Fame, the older guys that were in bad shape. They always say dire need. We don't know who's in dire need. That's why it started right there first. That was why we started there. I said, okay. I said, guys, now look, we start this. I said, we're gonna go all the way with it. He said, I got you. Don't leave me out in the water. Mm-hmm. We promise we're gonna leave you out. That's why it started right there. And I said, okay. I said, so what we want to do is start here, and then we want it for every player. They say, yeah, we want to start it here first. So that's why we started with the Hall of Famers first, because the dialogue started there first.
Which we understand, and we appreciate you sort of clarifying that with us, as Eric Dickerson was on with us this morning. But at this point, can't we just say the Hall of Famers want this, but we want it for everybody?
Exactly. Perfect. We want it for every player. I want every player to understand it. The reason it started the Hall, because those are the guys we were talking about. We were talking about all the guys right there. We were seeing it. And look, if players know me, call me, email me, text me, I'll talk to any guy. I mean, but most definitely, this is just not for Hall of Famers. I mean, I'm sorry it came out that way, but for sure, this is for every player. Every player. We want health care for all, and a pension, a proper pension. Look, I talked to one of my buddies yesterday, and I won't say his name. I said, two of them. I said, how long did you play? He said, I played 16 years. I said, what's your pension? He said, my pension is $5,000 a month. I said, you played 16 years. He said, yeah. He said, I know it's messed up. Another one, he said, how long did you play? I played 12 years. I said, what's your pension? $2,200. I'm like, it's just a joke. It's really sad that it's like that. But you know what? The facts are the fact. If they are what they are, but moving forward, I just want to make this perfectly clear. I'm sorry that the message didn't get out right. You know, like I said before, every game plan is not perfect.
Right.
What we're trying to do, you know, it's the end of the game. How did you finish the game? You might start it off ugly, but when your game is over, hey, we won the football game. It might not have been pretty, but you know what? We won, and that's what it's all about. I and all the players, Hall of Famers, we're all brothers. We're all brothers. This is what it's about. It's about us. This has been going on too long like this.
Right.
So, you know, and like I said, It's a thankless job. I mean, like, you think I want to do this?
No, I get it, Eric. I get it. I believe you. We're running out of time here, but I do want to ask you, now that we've established that you're doing this for everybody, what's the next step? Now that you've made this letter, what's the next thing you're going to try and do to get that going?
I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep this in the press. I want to keep this pushing forward. I want to keep going after the NFL. Roger Goodell, David Baker, DeMar Smith, all of them. I just want to keep this going because if it dies out, then we get nothing done. That's the most important thing. They want to meet, fine. We'd love to meet, but we want some kind of offer, not just to talk. We want an offer because the players deserve this. So
Well, Eric,
I'm sorry. Like I say, I'm sorry that the message got diluted some, but just know this once again. I'm saying it's for all players. Players.
That's why we're so glad you came on with us.
The key thing that we wanted to hear, Eric, because and that's the best way to have a plan work is by having the plan, the clarity of plan. And it just seemed a little bit muddied yesterday, but you've cleared it up.
Eric, we're running up against the clock, but we really appreciate you coming on with us this morning, and we will keep this going. I promise.
Yes.
Hey, thank you, guys, and happy birthday again.
Thanks, Eric. We appreciate that.
By the way, what a foursome!
Yeah, that was
golfing.
That'd be don't get them angry. Don't get those guys angry.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about a third of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Hey guys, Stu in the mobile down in Florida. First time, long time, huge fan. Love your work. Trey, my favorite Wingo. The big 7'5". Happy birthday to you, big fella. Proud of you. But anyway, good morning, Mike. I heard you do your power rankings for top 5 people or 3 that you respect. You got your dad, number 1, high school coach, number 2, Bill Curry, number 3. Stugotz, close 4. I know you like that guy. All right, good. Right behind Bill Curry. Trey, your power rankings. You did them today. You have 4 new teams. I'm going to do a top 7 for your birthday. We work from 1 up to 7. Okay, quickly. Power rankings for John on a mobile phone in Florida. Number 1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's magic. Number 2, the Miami Dolphins. How about that? Adam Gase, Tannehill, undefeated. Number 3, Cincinnati Bengals. Number 4, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 5 in my power ranking, the Broncos. Number 6, find a weakness on this team, the Rams. And my surprise at number 7 for your birthday, Trey. A tie, Packers, Vikings, Browns. How about that? I'll hang up and listen.
Well done on the tie at number 7. But here's the best part. But we love Stugotz.
Yes,
Stugotz is the
without
best.
question.
But this was the most Stugotzian thing ever in that top 7. At number 6, the Rams. Find a weakness on that team. Well, then if you can't find a weakness, why are they at 6? Why are they at 6 and not at 1?
Yeah.
I really thought he was just going to run the gambit because there are top 7 undefeated teams.
Yeah.
And he didn't go there. He threw in some guys with the tie.
Wow.
Stugotz will throw one by you now.
That's what he does.
He will throw one by you. By the way,
Stugotz is strong.
Golic and Wingo brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a fresh and beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is offering 36 autumn roses for $36. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So it was really great to have Eric Dickerson on.
It was.
Because it was great to just to make sure everybody understood. He is doing this and is going to keep talking about it for all players, not just Hall of Famers.
Well, that was the big thing. Again, this message is not a new message. It's been a message that's been trying to be related to both our union or former union, because we're not in the union anymore, and the league as well, about taking care of older players. We had Bill Curry on earlier, who played in the 60s and the 70s. At one point, he was the president of the NFLPA, and he said he even heard from players before him, hey, take care of the guys before you. This has been going on forever, so this is nothing new. And former players are on their own as far as they have to talk to the union and to the league and try and work their way in there. And I don't know if it's ever going to work. I don't know if it's ever going to get better. It's gotten better. I don't know where it's going to go from here. I don't know. But it's not going to go anywhere without clarity in the message. And yesterday it got convoluted.
Right.
With the note that went out of just Hall of Famers, guys on the list. They shouldn't have been on the list, which Eric Dickerson said he took responsibility for. But we had other Hall of Famers on the show that said they weren't going to be part of this. So when you get people disagreeing amongst the message,
right,
that's trouble. And that's what a lot of times, unfortunately, with the union is can be problematic because you don't have everybody on one page. This needs to be everybody on one page. And I hope Eric Dickerson, and I got the chance to say, this is for all players.
Yeah.
So if they will sit down as Hall of Famers and try to negotiate, I don't know if it'll work or not, but for all players, that's the message to send. And it took a little while to get that message out there, but hopefully that's the message out there as they go forward with whatever plan they're going to go forward with.
And I think the most important thing here is you see what a power a guy like Eric Dickerson has. He put this letter in, and everybody's talking about it now. So listen, as a guy who loves the game as much as I do and a guy who played the game as much as you do, we are all about making sure this message for all players getting better health insurance stays out there. Well, it's been a great day with a lot of great guests. I don't know what else I'm going to do today, so on my birthday, I'm going to go play. Hey, real quickly, do you want to play golf today?
Yes, let's go play!
Whoa! What's happening?
Let's play golf!
There we go. Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level.